Hey everybody, Adam G. Fleming from Chaam, Cowboys Publishing. I'm going to chat with you today about how to get good critique for your writing. Um, a couple of videos back, I was talking about how to have better quality of writing, and how to do that was have someone critique it and tell you this part is quality, this part not so much. Don't ask them to explain why, because that's not possible. Not really, but ask them to do it, and then ask them to do it again with your next piece. And so that's an issue in getting critique. Now at Chaam Cowboys Publishing, with our network, we don't do a lot of critique. Um, we sort of tend to believe that there's plenty of other people out there doing it, but I think it's worth talking about what's going on in critique. So today I'm going to talk with you about some stuff that I learned from this book. I got to hold it in front of the camera. Why Art Cannot Be Taught, by James Elkins, who was a professor at the University of Art in Chicago. And when I first encountered this book, I was focused on doing stone sculpture, so I was more of a visual artist. We're talking 10 or maybe even 15 years ago, before there was gray in my hair and my beard. And I was fascinated by this idea that art could not be taught. So what's going on in critique sessions if they're not actually teaching art? And you can apply this to your writing as well. So James Elkins talks about the difference between descriptive and judicative comments. So one is just saying, this is what I see, and the other one is judging whether or not what you see is good. Um, the question, is that a horse, can be understood in two ways. Either it is meant to gather information, or it means something more like, is that a horse? In the former case, you can take it as primarily or initially descriptive, and in the latter as primarily or initially judicative. A rhetorical question is an ironic or self-evident judicative statement. If the work is a huge bronze horse and someone asks, is that a horse? They may mean it's too obviously a horse, that it suffers because it is too horsey, and so on. Well, I think if you're interested in what a good critique really looks like or doesn't look like, um, James Elkins has a lot to say about that. And so if you're thinking that you want to form a critique group, or you want to have people in your class or in your group critique each other's work, that's an important book to read from the perspective of visual art, but we can apply it to writing. Um, Again, at Chaam Cowboys, it's a little bit different type of situation. For us, we're thinking that your quality will increase, but you've got to be putting words on the page. Now, most of our people in our network are not in school at the time, and school and James Elkins talks about this a lot. School is this sort of artificial bubble where you're expected to produce certain amounts of product per semester. He talks a little bit about how Rembrandt, if he was in today's painting schools, he would be failing because it took him 2 or 3 years to make one painting, and that wouldn't fit within a semester. So he'd have a problem there. So anyway, where am I going with that? We're thinking about quality. Some of what we're talking about all the time at Chaam Cowboys and in our Scribble network is, look, um, you know, the quality will increase, we believe, as you just continue to produce more work. So that's why we are often setting monthly goals for just how much writing are you doing? What's your word count? Um, we're not assuming that all your word count is going to be great. We're assuming that a lot of it won't be great. Um, and even if you're working on a manuscript, there may be entire chapters that you end up scrapping in the editing process, and that's just fine. I mean, you may, just like a painter who's wanting to do a show may do 40 paintings and only exhibit 20 that they decide are, have the quality that they want to. They've raised the bar up to here, and this is the quality I'm looking for. And if I find something underneath of that in my body of work, then I'm not going to exhibit it because it doesn't have the quality that I'm shooting for. But how do they know? You get critique. So as I talked in a previous video about inviting people to critique your work, you've got to think about who's going to just descriptively, you know, critique your work, and who's going to, what's the word? Who's going to be judgmental and say, well, I just think talking about a horse is just too horsey for me. you know, and if your book is about horses and somebody's going to critique it who doesn't like horse books, you're going to struggle with that because they're going to keep coming back to, well, it's just about a lot of horses and I don't really care for horses. So it's, you need to know who can critique this that is actually going to be able to share something helpful with you about it. That might mean that they need to like the genre that you're working in. It might mean that they need to hate the genre you're working in. It sort of depends on what you're looking for in terms of what kind of critique you want to get. Um, so, bottom line is critique can be really helpful, especially in the earlier phases of your writing career. Maybe as you're, working on your first novel, your second novel. Eventually, you need to focus more on just the accountability to keep producing. And that's what Justin and I at Chaam, Cowboys, and our Scribble Network are all about. Because we know that once you've been through school and you've kind of been taught the rudiments of what it means to do good writing, to use the beats, that Justin talks about a lot, all that kind of stuff. This is now your baby, and you're going out in the world. You're outside that artificial bubble of school, and so really, it's not the critique you need so much. It's the accountability to just keep writing every day, or every week, or every month. Some quantity, quantity versus quality. They work together. Really, honestly, it's really difficult to separate them. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Have a great week, and until next time, thanks for watching.